Welcome back to MVM. Today I have on the table the Ultimate Edition of Assault on Doomrock, which is coming soon. I want to give you an overview of this game. It's been around for a few years through multiple different editions, expansions, rules changes, and things like that, and it has remained popular through all of that. So what they've done here for this Ultimate Edition is go back through all of the editions, all of the expansions, find everything that everyone loved that worked really well, added that in with some new modules, solo modes, and things like that, upgraded it all with brand new graphic design, and put it all in one big box. So if you have nothing, you can get all of Doomrock content in one go. So you might be asking yourself what this game is. Why would you be interested? Well, this is a cooperative adventure game. This game actually set the stage for a lot of cooperative games that came after it. It is a game that's played in the course of 3 acts, but it is not necessarily a narrative game. The narrative comes out organically and is generated randomly, kind of based on the things that you're doing across those 3 acts. And each one of those acts is actually like its own game. So you'll play Act 1 maybe one game day. You can store it, save everything just as it was, bring it back out for Act 2 and Act 3. Or if you really want to, just set a day aside. You can play through all 3 acts at once. But each act is divided into 2 sections. You have your adventuring phase, where you're kind of preparing for the assault on Doomrock. And then you have the combat phase, which is the actual assault on Doomrock. I've set up the game already here for that adventure phase, which is the first phase of the game. Now, one of the big draws about Doomrock is the variability. So all of this stuff you see here feeds into that, including this character that I've built here in front of me. I chose to be the Blood Mage. When you choose a character, you're going to draw a random trait to pair with it. So in this instance, I am the Arrogant Blood Mage. You're also going to start with 1 basic card called Maneuver and 2 special starting ability cards for your particular class. So I have 2 Blood Mage classes here. 2 Blood Mage class cards here, and then my player token. Now over here you have all the different classes you can choose from, all the different characters in a stack here. Each character is going to have different abilities, different roles in combat, different starting health values, but each character is going to start with 4 dice to roll. So you're going to collect those, you're going to collect your health, collect all your cards. As you actually advance and level up your character, you're drawing cards from this ability card deck. So you're actually just kind of gaining new abilities as you go, again, kind of randomly. And the reason this is because you're going to have a character that's very unique every time you play. It's going to go in some different directions, and you're going to have some powers and abilities that you didn't even see. I mean, this stack of ability cards is huge. So you're going to be playing a bunch of games before you see all these ability cards, all the items, and things like that. Now, once everyone has set up their player area, then you can actually decide what you're playing. You're going to be playing through one particular setting. And this is the setting card here. It's placed off to the side. It's going to give you a number of time markers. That's how much time you have before the assault on Doomrock begins. It's also going to give you some kind of global ability, a loot chart, and a reward for beating that particular scenario. Then you're going to build the location deck, which you see here in the center, and deal out 3 starting locations. This represents the wilderness, the towns, and the mountains. Those are the 3 kind of areas that you can go to. Eventually, you'll get to go to one of these Doomrock areas. That's in Act 3. You go to some much harder areas and actually have to fight your way through Doomrock itself. Now, these locations are going to do a variety of different things for you. For one, they're all going to have a number of secrets up here in the corner. And this is dictated by the number printed there on the card. You kind of want to expose these secrets, because if you do, you get the bonus of whatever particular card you're looking at. And there are a couple of different ways that you can expose those secrets. One is just to try to find what you can do on the card. Some of the actual actions of the cards are going to allow you to reveal those secrets. They will also have other utilities. For example, in the shop, you can buy items, or you can, rob the shop, because this is kind of a sandbox game. Over here, we have the Gnome Catapult, which is going to let you camp, launch the catapult, test your invention. And then over here, we just have the Rectangle, which is an escape room where you can find traps. You have to disarm those traps to remove the secrets. Another way you can remove the secrets is just to have an encounter in that location. And there's a deck of story encounter cards over here. And you'll draw one. It's going to tell you what you have to do to proceed through that encounter. And if you manage to complete it, then you get to remove one of those secrets. Now, a lot of these actions are going to take time. It takes time to visit these locations. It takes time to move from one location to another. If you feel like you have fully explored all of the locations that are there, you can do what's called venture forth and discover a new location. When you do, some of the abilities might trigger. For example, Resupply in the shop says if you venture forth or travel away from the area, you replenish the shop with 2 epic items. So now instead of just buying the regular items, you'll have the option to buy some of these epic items as well. But if you decide to venture forth to a new location, you're going to remove one of the locations, the farthest one to the left. So you better hope that you've fully explored that. You're going to slide everything down, and then you'll reveal a new location from the top of the deck. And again, all of these actions are going to cost time. So you'll spend time, and then you'll seed that new board with a number of secrets of its own. So this location here requires 4 secrets. Now, the reason that you're trying to do this exploration phase is, number one, to buy items. You're going to have some silver for the start of the game that you can spend on buying some of these items. You can also explore locations to potentially find items. Some of those encounter cards might give you items. Some of the bonuses from these different secrets might give you items, and you can also gain experience to level up. You level up kind of as a team. You're going to be able to, like I said, draw those new ability cards and add those ability cards. So now my Blood Mage can shoot a shark missile, which is one of the crazier powers. There are some wild powers in here, I should say. If you haven't kind of gathered that, this game is just like crazy with all of the stuff that's in it. So it gets kind of funny and comical on purpose in these combinations, and some of the spells are just zany, cool spells like that shark missile. I don't want to gloss over that and have you go, why is there a shark missile in this game? Now, leveling up as a team is great. You're going to be passing out these ability cards to everyone and hoping that they get on the same level. You're also going to have some tokens you can gain over here. Heroism and shields. Now, some of these locations might require you to spend heroism or shields, but they're also going to be good if you can carry them over to the battle phase. You're also going to be rolling this peril die a lot. Certain locations will have you roll this die, and when you venture forth to new locations, you're going to have to roll it once or maybe even twice for some of the more dangerous areas, and each one of these sides is going to have a different effect to you as well. So there is a downside to exploring. You are going to be taking damage potentially from that die. You kind of have to weigh your options, but really, you just want to become as prepared as possible for what's happening next, because you don't know the fight that you're getting into. At the start of the game, after you set up your setting and everything, you're going to draw out one of these combat cards for your act. There are combat cards for Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. But you don't get to see it until you run out of time markers. Once you're completely run out of time markers, then you're going to reveal this. You're going to move directly into combat for that act. So you want to make sure that you fully explore every area. Some of these areas actually have secret areas even inside them. Some of these encounter cards even will give you access to some of these secret areas that attach to cards. So you definitely want to make sure that you're fully explored. You want to make the most use possible of your time tokens. This one here was Wilderness Treasure is the name of my particular setting. It has 7. But as soon as all 7 of these are done, then we're done as well. We're done exploring. So the game is actually going to change to a different game. We're actually going to be entering into combat and using everything that we have prepared for ourselves in this new combat. So everything that's on this board is going to come off, and then we will reveal this combat card. It's going to tell you that you're fighting an angry mob after you're adventuring. So you're going to look at this huge stack of combat sheets. I mean, there are a ton of combat sheets, and these are again for Acts 1 through 3. So you're going to find angry mob. And this is going to show you a few things. First of all, it's going to show you the layout of each of the enemies. And you'll see here, based on these tokens, it's going to tell you where to place terrain, where to place your character tokens, and where to place enemy tokens based on the player count. Over here on this side, you're going to have information on the enemy itself. It tells you exactly how many minions you're going to have for player count, how much HP and armor do they have, and things like that. So again, this is shorthand. It's just kind of giving you icons to show you what's happening over there. But you're going to place all of these tokens out, and these tokens are set off to the side of the board. You're going to have 2 different, kind of for the regular enemies and the stronger enemies. And you'll notice when I'm putting these tokens out, that I'm putting them out in groups. That is because movement in this game is different from what you might expect in a tactical game. Every set of units that's out touching like this represents a group. So there are no actual spaces to this game, but you are going to be moving around, engaging with these groups. So once I get all, there's actually 5 groups out here for this map, which is quite a few. So once you have all these out, then you're going to be able to actually move your tokens around to engage with these enemies. So as long as you are freestanding, you're not engaged with anything, but you can just move to become engaged with a group. And that's as simple as movement is. So that's why these group setups are very important. You're also going to see terrain tokens. You'll be able to flip over one of these terrain cards, and it's going to show you what kind of terrain to add in or what's so special about that terrain. And it's going to be linked directly to those cards as you place the terrain out on the board. Now on the other side of this, you're going to get the actual kind of AI that controls the enemies on their turns. So it's actually going to tell you what they do on their turn, and they get to act before the heroes do. So at the start of the phase, each hero is going to collect their 4 dice. Now, if you've leveled up, you'll actually get more dice. You're going to get 1 die every time you level, and you're going to use these dice to trigger your ability cards. But you're going to roll your dice first, and this is basically going to be your pool of dice that you can spend to do attacks and trigger the abilities that are sitting out here in front of you. Now, once these dice are rolled, they can be assigned to your cards. Cards can be used multiple times. Some of them will have charges, basically, that you can use, and you're going to be looking to match these dice. So each one of these cards has a particular die that you can use to attach to it. Now, normally by this point in a fight, I'm going to have a lot more cards because I'll probably have spent some time leveling up over the course of the game. So I'll have more dice and more cards than what I'm showing you here in this example. But you'll be able to assign these dice as you choose and use these dice in combat. But before you get to use your dice, the enemies are going to go, again, based on this chart. This is going to tell you exactly how they act, how they do damage, who they're targeting, and things like that, as well as any kind of start of round or end of round abilities that they might be getting. So you'll want to keep this sheet close by as you're taking your turn. But once all of the dice are placed, you can trigger any initiative abilities that will allow you to act early. Then the enemies are all going to move, and then you're going to get to do all of your actions. And again, this is a cooperative game. And because of that, you can actually act in any order. So if you're looking at the board here, trying to set up a great turn for yourself, you can decide who's going to go when. This is especially important if you have any support classes that are going to be buffing other players or healing them or giving them extra damage or attacks. You want to get those abilities off first. But everyone can look at all of their cards. You have your starting cards and all of the cards that you leveled up with, and you're going to get to use them. Again, every one of these cards can do different things. They can allow you to move between groups. They can allow you to attack. Each one has specific attacks and damages they can do. Some of them are going to trigger based on your items that you have. And again, items can be used in battle to mitigate the dice rolls or supplement the dice values. What you're trying to do literally is just defeat the enemies. Some of the encounters might have other objectives that you need to complete, but most of these are just fights. You are trying to wipe out these different groups of enemies as fast as possible without dying. Each character has a certain amount of HP. Of course, if everybody is knocked out, that is the end of the game. There's a wide variety of things you can do in combat. I mean, we talked about that giant stack of ability cards. There are so many. A lot of these are your attack and defense style. You have your magic, your ranged attacks, your melee attacks, your ability to defend. But some of them just do wild effects. They can change up the actual game board. They can give your teammates bonuses, give you bonuses, heal, hurt the enemies in a bunch of different ways. So you'll just have to kind of look at what you have in front of you and figure out the puzzle. Figure out the best way to trigger these abilities with the dice you rolled. Trying to mitigate these dice when needed to use some of the cards that maybe you didn't roll for, or relying on other people to kind of help you out. If you do manage to complete the scenario, then you're going to get the reward that's listed on your particular setting card. You'll get all of that, including potentially loot, which is going to have you roll on a loot chart and see what loot you get. If you do win, then everything that you've got here is going to carry over to the next act. So all of the spoils of victory here, all of the XP and levels up that you've done over the course of the game are all going to carry with you to Act 2. And the game can actually be stored just like this. You just collect everything that your character has, your character card, whatever trait you have, the items you have, and all the abilities that you've unlocked. You just keep that together, and that's basically all you need to jump back into Act 2. When you start Act 2, you're going to start back over from the exploration step, resetting the board. Now, the locations that you get in Act 2 and 3 are going to be harder. You're going to get more mountainous locations, which are tougher. And of course, like I said, on the third act, you're going to get some of those Doomrock locations, which are very difficult. So of course, the game is going to get more difficult over the acts, not just because of the exploration, but also the enemy decks themselves are going to get more difficult. You're going to be fighting through level 2 encounters and then eventually level 3 encounters when it gets to the third act. And there are going to be some bosses as well that come up that you have to fight, especially later on in the final acts. But if you do manage to somehow by the end of it get through all 3 acts and survive, then you've completely won the game. Of course, you can always just jump in and play the first act just a one and done. You don't have to continue on to the campaign, but if you really want to see your characters progress, you want to see all of the crazy abilities coming into play, and you want to see what those final difficult encounters look like, then you really do want to play through all 3 acts and experience the full game. And again, like I said earlier, this is all of the different expansions and modules. I've shown you a little bit, some of these, like the terrain module here. There's a pet module that can give out pets here. There's a solo module that allows you to play solo, and there's some enhanced modules that start your characters off a little bit more powerfully. All of these can be mixed and matched in the game, and there are some variants and some modules that are listed in the rulebook that I know that are going to be in the big box that I haven't even seen. So the only way to see those is going to be to check out their crowdfunding page and actually see what all they're going to be unlocking. I mean, there is a huge amount of characters already, a ton of characters. I don't know how many more characters they can put in this box, but I'm here to try all of them. They're all very different and very fun. I didn't even talk about the custom dice. You've seen them sitting here. There's actually custom dice that you can roll for your characters. This is one of the modules that comes in the game as well. There's more chances of failure, but there's also some special sides on these dice. So all of these modules can be mixed and matched as you choose. I kind of just talked about the base game here today. So definitely take a look at the game. If you like dungeon crawl games, adventure games, and things of that ilk, you don't want to miss looking at this one. But please, if you do have any comments, questions, concerns, anything, leave them in the comments below. I'd love to hear. If you're fans of this game, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on the upgraded presentation and the streamlined rules and everything. So thank you so much for watching this video here today. And until I see you again, keep having fun at the table.
Congratulations, you got to the end of one of our videos. Now, if you want more practice, just click on the video over here. It's another video. You might not have seen it yet, so click on it. If you don't want to do that, at least click on the subscription button below. That always helps us. And if you want notifications, please ring that bell.